know all of you through the International Academy of Collaborative Practitioners, and I think it's fair to say that you're all prominent collaborative lawyers. But what sort of process do you prefer when you're negotiating a nuptial agreement? Katja?
Which would I prefer? I would prefer to have actually two collaborative lawyers advising each party. But in reality, mostly the people come to me, you know, just by themselves. They don't take lawyers. They just take me as a mediator to mediate the nuptial agreement, and that's reality. But I would rather prefer to have each spouse, you know, properly advised. So that would be a very good opportunity to use the collaborative lawyer on this other side without having the actual process, but having two lawyers who are focused on finding a solution for the people, you know, for the couple, and not trying to, you know, trick or trying to get advantage out of this.
So if you're mediating a nuptial settlement, can you draft it?
Yes, when the couple gives me, you know, asks me to do it. Okay, so I do the mediation and I draft it on the flip chart. Okay, what they agreed on, and then they give me another assignment to draw up the agreement, and then I do that.
And do they then have separate lawyers?
No, not necessarily, but I always, when I do mediate, I ask the clients to go to see, you know, to seek advice, legal advice before signing. On the other hand, it's not very complicated, you know, regarding the assets. The nuptial agreements are not very complicated, so it's not really necessary. And sometimes even a notary, you know, when they get notarized, the authorities, they, you know, give in their own peace of mind to the nuptial agreement. So they will, you know, give some advice to when they sign it at the notary.
Okay. And Kath, what process options do you use?
Well, obviously I would like to use collaborative a lot, and I have done in the past, but that, I have to say, unfortunately, is very rare. Again, what tends to happen is that either one person comes to me, or alternatively, a couple are referred by the respective lawyers, and I end up mediating. With mediation here in Scotland, I couldn't draft the agreement. I would be forbidden from doing that, and anything, in fact, that the couple agree at mediation is non-binding on them. I mean, I guess that's why dealing with it collaboratively here is better, in the sense that they've got the respective collaborative lawyers working with them throughout the process. But as I say, generally, it would be simply negotiating back and forward. I could potentially just act for one party and send an agreement to the other, but I would have to tell them to take their own separate legal advice, and inform them that the contents of this agreement were, you know, legally binding and could have severe implications on them if they chose to sign it without taking advice. But technically, I could do that. I would be very reluctant to do that, but technically I could do that, and it would basically be up to, I guess, the court at the end to work out whether or not that party had had sufficient advice and sufficient time to reflect. But, you know, as I say, it's definitely possible, and there are agents out there who do that.
And Susan, you do not litigate.
I do not.
So I'm interested in sort of your preferred process options.
Yeah, so sometimes I will mediate a prenuptial or postnuptial agreement, and then there would need to be the attorneys involved from my perspective. So then you have three professionals. So the process that I prefer is either a collaborative or cooperative law process. And the way that that would work is, after meeting with my client and becoming familiar with what's important to them, we would meet with their partner and his or her attorney to start to clarify the couple's values, goals, and interests so we can find out what's important to both of them and which will be reflected in the final agreement. I mean, the idea here is that people are about to get married. And so what we really want to do is not create a situation where in doing this, we're really kind of like dealing with them in a way that's not healthy for their relationship. So we really want to work with them in a way that will help them preserve their relationship and also feel free to disagree. I've worked with in a collaborative process, I've worked with mental health professionals when things are really challenging, because sometimes people will talk about what they want and they're about to get married or they're going to be married, you know, within several months or something like that. And we don't want to have a situation where, you know, all of a sudden someone feels like, oh my gosh, you know, I trusted you, and, you know, and it can be very challenging and hard for people when they have different perspectives on that. So rather than having a situation where one attorney goes and they prepare the agreement and they hand it to us and we're, you know, whoa, oh gosh, you know, we build it up together. So what I really like about this way of doing it this way is that we build it together, and then one attorney will prepare the agreement, and that will reflect what the couple has said. This is what we wanted to say, and my counterpart, the other attorney, will review it, and we will prepare that agreement. And once we believe that agreement reflects what the couple wants, we will give it to them and they will review it, and then we'll go back and forth in that way. And so what I really like about this is that as an attorney, and I love drafting agreements, is that we can prepare an agreement that really is an excellent job about, you know, here's what you wanted to say and here's what it says.
It's a sort of premarital therapy, examining how people feel about money and how people feel about illness or unemployment. I think it can be very valuable. It's an ideal way of working. Is that how you do it too, Francesca?
Well, really, in Italy, since there isn't in our system a tradition of having nuptial agreements that are not more than a simple choice of what you want to do, with no really ability to craft what's in that choice, there isn't a tradition of negotiating agreements, prenuptial agreements or nuptial agreements. As I was saying, traditionally, the only choice you can make is what is going to happen to your assets that are acquired after marriage, and the only real alternative is, are they going to be common assets, or is each going to keep the assets that he or she buys? So this is something quite new that's entering in the law practice, because especially with cross-border marriages, prenuptial agreement have become more and more a topic of interest. Also, our legislator is now interested in it, and there is a project of law that's waiting in Parliament to be discussed. We have no idea what's going to really happen. And there have been there is some case law that actually deals with some aspects, some agreements that have been met. So I can't really talk of my experience in this, but I can surely imagine that having the possibility of sharing a process where lawyers are there to help parties reach an agreement, where parties will be able to share their interests and values, and then build their agreement. I think that's an incredible opportunity. So I would surely say my preferred way to do this, if I could, would be collaboratively, yes, or cooperatively at least.
Yeah.